Find out what is happening at the library, from virtual programming to fun new services. Hear recommendations on books, movies, TV shows, and so much more. This is In the Stacks at Mustang Library.
With a new year comes new beginnings. Are you one of those goal-oriented people? Someone who sees a positive future and likes to put some kind of structure around it? Of course, many goals set for the new year are abandoned by February, so if you're in that camp, you're in good company. Fortunately, we can begin new habits and grow our skills and interests at any time. We've asked a couple of librarians to share their reading goals for 2022 to inspire you this year. Reading goals are enjoyable and easy to personalize.
Each year, instead of setting an unrealistic New Year's resolution, I make a reading challenge through Goodreads. I pick a goal for myself of how many books I want to read that year, and as the year goes on, it keeps track. It is wonderful to get to the end of the year. I always feel so proud of myself for meeting that goal. And if you get halfway through the year and maybe you're not up to par, you can always adjust it. So try it. Make a reading challenge for yourself this year. Here at Scottsdale Public Library, we got plenty of content to help you achieve that goal.
And if you're on Goodreads, be sure to friend Scottsdale Public Library and keep up with all of our staff recommendations and reviews. And if you're looking for a reading goal with more structure, you can find plenty of reading challenges online, like Book Riot's annual Read Harder Challenge, which provides specific criteria to meet for each book in the challenge, which coaxes you to read outside your comfort zone. And if you're at a loss for what to read next, or just need a burst of inspiration, try our library's Bookmate service. Fill out a form online to share with us what books you've liked in the past and what kinds of books you are looking forward to reading in the future. Our library staff will send you personalized suggestions.
Hello, my name is Jenny, and my goal for 2022 is to read 222 books. To accomplish this task, I'm going to read anything and everything, from graphic novels, short story collections, novellas, poetry collections, children's picture books, and so on. In addition, I really want to focus on reading more classic books, and will try to read a different classic every month. Luckily, the library has plenty of titles to choose from, and a sprawling digital library as well. Libby, one of our biggest digital resources, has an always available collection where titles never have a wait time. Name a classic book, and it is likely part of that collection. Plus, Libby has a ton of free audiobooks too, and I will definitely need to listen to a few books if I want to accomplish my goal.
The library is here to help with whatever you're trying to learn, achieve, or just enjoy. So what are your goals?
The Newbery Medal was named for 18th century bookseller John Newbery. It is awarded annually by the Association for Library Service to Children, a division of the American Library Association, to the author of the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Newbery Award. Since 1922, lovers of children's literature, children and adults alike, anxiously await the announcement of the Newbery Medal for the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. The anniversary commemorates not only a century of captivating books, it celebrates the longevity and evolution of the award. The world has changed in the last 100 years, and with it, the Newbery Medal seeks to recognize stories that represent and respect all youth. This year's 2022 John Newbery Medal for the most outstanding contribution to children's literature is The Last Quintista, written by Donna Barbara Higuera. This story takes place with a girl named Petra Peña, who wanted nothing more than to be a storyteller, just like her abuelita. But Petra's world is ending. Earth has been destroyed by a comet, and only a few hundred scientists and their children, among them Petra and her family, have been chosen to journey to a new planet. They are the ones who must carry on the human race. Find out more when you read The Last Quintista. 100 years of Newbery Award winners through the decades. Last year, the winner was a fantasy and folklore novel called When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller. Would you make a deal with a magical tiger? This story brings Korean folklore to life as a girl goes on a quest to unlock the power of stories and saves her grandmother. Moving to 2010, the award winner that year was a realistic fiction mystery sci-fi combination called When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed. As her mother prepares to be a contestant on the 1980s television game show, The $20,000 Pyramid, a 12-year-old New York City girl tries to make sense of a series of mysterious notes received from an anonymous source that seems to defy the laws of time and space. 2000's winner was an historical fiction work called Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis. 10-year-old Bud, a motherless African-American boy living in Flint, Michigan during the Great Depression, escapes a bad foster home and sets out in search of the man he believes to be his father, the renowned bandleader H.E. Calloway of Grand Rapids. 1990's winner, Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, is a historical fiction novel set in 1943 during the German occupation of Denmark. 10-year-old Anne-Marie learns how to be brave and courageous when she helps shelter her Jewish friend from the Nazis. 1980's winner is another historical fiction novel called A Gathering of Days by Joan Bloss. The journal of a 14-year-old girl kept from 1830 to 1832 records daily events in her small New Hampshire town, her father's remarriage, and the death of her best friend. The 1970s winner is another historical fiction novel called Sounder by William Armstrong. A young black boy living in the South in the late 1800s learns the pain of humiliation and anger when his father is given an unjust jail sentence for stealing a ham from a white man. He must struggle to support his family and deal with terrible loss, but he also finds glimmers of hope. 1960s award winner called Onion John again embraces historical fiction. Joseph Crumwell wrote this novel about a boy and his friendship with a town odd jobs man named Onion John. And their friendship causes a conflict between the boy named Andy and his father. 1950 celebrates adventure and historical fiction and takes place in medieval England, called The Door in the Wall by Margaret D'Angeli. This is a story of a boy who learns his own strength when he saves a castle and discovers there is more than one way to serve his king. 1940, the title that won is a biography about Daniel Boone by James Daltrey. This is a story of the legendary frontiersman, Daniel Boone. 1930 is a fantasy historical fiction winner called Kitty, Her First 100 Years by Rachel Field. Kitty is a very special doll who belongs to Phoebe. Phoebe is proud of her beautiful doll and brings Hitty everywhere she goes. This is thrilling for Hitty, who finds herself involved in the most wonderful adventures. The very first award winner took place in 1922 and is a history book by Hendrik William von Loon called The Story of Mankind. This classic book, first published in 1921, was the very first winner of the Newbery Medal. It was illustrated in pen and ink by the author, and it has been incorporated with more recent events in world history. That just takes us through some of the decades of the many award winners of this prestigious John Newbery Medal.
Hail to the Chief! For the love of past presidents, we celebrate them this month with fun facts you might not know. George Washington is considered the father of our country, but it's his teeth that are still all the talk. Would you believe his dentures weren't made of wood like many believe? They were made of animal and human teeth, hippopotamus ivory, bone, gold wire, brass screws, and lead. So where did the wood assumption come from? Some think Washington's love for dark wine stained the lines in his false teeth, giving off the look of wood grain. Despite being one of the most famous presidents, Thomas Jefferson despised speaking in public so much that he only gave 2 speeches during his tenure. He started sending his State of the Union speeches as written documents to be read by a clerk in Congress. This would last until 1913 when President Woodrow Wilson reinstated the practice. Our fourth president, James Madison, was the smallest president, weighing in at about 100 pounds and standing at 5 feet 4 inches tall. Martin Van Buren was the first president to be born in the USA. William Henry Harrison gave the longest inauguration speech ever, 8,445 words and over an hour and a half long. It was a cold, wet day. He died soon after, 33 days into his presidency. Zachary Taylor was celebrating the 4th of July near where the Washington Monument would later be built, ate some cherries and washed them down with ice milk. Bacteria was present in one of the two and he died a few days later. Abraham Lincoln was known as a tall man. He was also a really good wrestler. He won all but one of his about 300 matches. Andrew Johnson was the first president to be impeached. His childhood wasn't any better. When his father died, his mother sold him as an indentured servant to a tailor. He fled 2 years later, so the tailor put out a reward of $10 for his capture. He was never caught. Using what he learned during his time with the tailor, he fabricated all of his own suits as president. Ulysses S. Grant was invited to be in Abraham Lincoln's box at Ford's Theater on the night of his assassination, but decided not to attend. He later rued the choice because he believed he could have done something to stop John Wilkes Booth. In one of the most disputed elections in history, Rutherford B. Hayes won the Electoral College by a single vote, earning him the nicknames His Fraudulency and Rutherfraud. When his law partner died, Grover Cleveland became the legal guardian to his partner's 11-year-old daughter. 10 years later, at age 21, she became the youngest First Lady ever. They were married in the White House. Benjamin Harrison, the son of President William Henry Harrison, was the first to have electricity in the White House. He was very afraid of being electrocuted, so he wouldn't touch the light switches and would go to bed with the lights on. Heavy stress led to Woodrow Wilson experiencing a series of strokes beginning in 1919. He was left almost blind and partially paralyzed, but he stayed in office until 1921. He relied heavily for help from his wife, Edith Bowling Galt. They called her Presidentress because she was a descendant of Pocahontas. Would you believe Calvin Coolidge would rub Vaseline on his head during breakfast? The oddities continued with his choice of pets, 2 raccoons named Reuben and Rebecca, who would actually run around free in the White House. Speaking of odd choices in pets, Herbert Hoover's son had 2 pet alligators that slithered around the White House grounds. As well, Hoover and his wife would speak Mandarin in the White House when they wanted to have a private conversation. FDR was obsessed with his dog, Fala. He made him an honorary Army private during World War II. Fala was very popular with the press and the American public. Believe it or not, FDR was related to other presidents before him. Washington, both Adams, Madison, Van Buren, both Harrisons, Taylor, Grant, Taft, and Teddy Roosevelt. Also, he was related to Winston Churchill. Dwight Eisenhower changed the name of FDR's presidential Maryland retreat from Shangri-La to Camp David. The Kansas farm boy felt Shangri-La was too fancy of a name. JFK's assassination led to Lyndon Johnson becoming president, but an earlier trip to the bathroom was another factor. While enlisted in the military during World War II, Johnson boarded a plane for his only bombing mission in the war. However, he really had to use the bathroom, so he got off the plane and did his business. By the time he got back on, the mission had left. The plane crashed, killing everyone on board. Gerald Ford is the only president to never be elected by the voting public to be president or vice president. First Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned, followed shortly thereafter by Nixon. His daughter Susan had her senior prom at the White House. Along with playing baseball in high school at Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, George W. Bush was the head cheerleader during his senior year. In honor of our great presidents, we give a big hip hip hooray! Please visit one of our Scottsdale Public Library branches or go to scottsdalelibrary.org for much more information on our great presidents. Thank you for watching.